today. And we have two teachers from Ashby Lee, Robin Orndorff and Alice Bauserman. And I'll hand it over to you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm Alice. This is Robin. So we want to thank everybody for being here today. And, you know, we were kind of reminiscing a little bit about ICHIP. And first of all, I think everybody should apply if you haven't. It's a wonderful opportunity. And it was literally a year ago in this very room that Robin and I were sitting next to each other, and we tend to bounce ideas off of each other a lot, and we need to apply for one of these, and we kind of just, you know, together started brainstorming. I had a first grade classroom, and I knew that a big focus for me would be sight words. And I thought, we've got to do something. We have to bring this alive for the kids and hopefully have a good outcome with it. So with that in mind, that particular day, I mean, all day long, and even in the breaks, we were on our phones. We were kind of trying to research. We were like, we're already looking for that idea. It didn't come that day, but the idea was born that day a year ago. Yeah. So we're very excited.
I was the ITRC at Ashby Lee, and so we knew we wanted a technology piece involved with it in some way, and you know, making the words come alive. And so eventually, and we'll show you the video that inspired us, but we got OSMO, iPlay plus iConnect equals iLearn. So our project was for almost the full $1,000. The things that we got are over here on this table. We got two iPad minis, and then the Osmo Genius Kit, which we're going to show you the videos of what all comes with this, but basically you get a stand and this little reflector that goes on the iPad, and it makes the area in front of the iPad interactive so that you don't have to touch the screen. And there's a word set that has word tiles, different letter tiles, a number set that has numbers, tangrams, and then there are two apps additional where you don't need pieces. One's called Masterpiece and one's called Newton, and we'll show you what all that does in the video. We also had enough money to get two sets of Tiggly words, which just are different vowel stamps where students stamp on the screen, so the points interact with the iPad. And then we also had enough money to fund things like the cases, the screen covers, and then some additional apps that different grade levels have started to be able to use. So we wanted different things for creating like Common Life, Starfall, especially because we have that language arts focus in Alice's class. Splash Math for the younger grades. So Alice had a very low grade level class this year. So we were looking at a lot of things that preschool and kindergarten uses in a first grade classroom. So.
Well, we wanted something that would motivate and stimulate, and the OSMO, it happened, I don't know if it happened really at the same time for both of us, but we tend to be night owls and we don't sleep very much, so that's when we work our best, and we're like, hey, wait a minute. So I was actually just scrolling through on my Facebook of all things, and I kept getting these little ads popping up for OSMO, and they would come day after day after day. I thought, oh, okay. So we clicked on it, and when you see the video, I was inspired, and I'm kind of sappy anyway, so when I saw the video, the one teacher, I was like, oh, I need to do this! And there's just kind of, you know, again, and then Robin had found the Tiggly words, and so she had me look at that, I had her look at Osmo, and together we thought, this might be something good.
So those are just the kits. So this is not the video yet. We have the video that we were like, oh, we have to do this a little bit later. But this is just so you can see how it works, because you really have to see kids doing it to understand what's happening.
It's a puzzle. Cool. Would you like to play? Yes.
And that's about how they react to it too.
It's kind of funny. You think, oh, they're actors, they're paid, they're, giggle and, act excited. But it is true. Once you bring that out, they will respond towards it.
Alright, this one is Numbers was a newer app that was released right before we purchased, and it was a nice, pleasant addition to our.
It's complicated.
It makes me get really sweaty.
Sometimes
When I have to take a math test, I get so stressed out.
you feel like really under pressure. I get a little bit nervous. How to make it more fun? Probably more games.
Make it a little more creative. I just want anything other than worksheets. Out of nowhere called out to write something on the board and you don't know what it is, you feel like all embarrassed. But when you play Numbers, it's just fun because you can show people how to play, you can play with each other and kind of compete in a way.
What are you playing? I'm playing math.
Do you want to try?
Yeah.
Okay, you have to try and match the numbers with the bubbles on the screen.
So 5. Yes, 5 times.
Let's make this 6. Okay, 7.
Now 10. We passed the level. Yeah. Yay. We finished it.
With Osmo, you're learning when you're playing on a video game, and it's really cool and fun.
You guys show this game to your friends?
Yes. But everybody would fight over my iPad.
So the last advertisement we're going to show you is for one that we didn't use a lot with Alice's first graders. However, we did have a group after school that visited Alice's room every day to use the Osmo. So this one's called Masterpiece. It's a drawing one. So some of these ads gave us more ideas on how to use it in the classroom.
It's fine. Thank you.
So I mean, he just did a quick masterpiece like last night. He's like, Mom, if you know my son, he's like, Mom, will you show it? So
you can use any pencil or marker to
you can use, yes, you can use markers. Like I said, there is a gallery that they can choose some images, or you can take a picture. So if you're studying the parts of a plant, you could actually take a picture and put it under, and they can sketch it out. So the possibilities really are endless.
This next one is just a particularly so you can see how that's used. Just another short little ad of that.
We all grew up loving stories. They made us laugh, cry, and stretch for the stars. Now our kids can create their own digital stories using Tiggly Words. Tiggly Words brings learning to life with a set of toys designed to interact with your tablet.
The tongue's going away in the cab. Let's try it. I'm gonna make them big, and I'm gonna make them fat. Please, 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 take us to the beach.
Discover language patterns. Stretch your vocabulary. Elver.
An elver. What's an elver?
Stretch your imagination.
What's peanut shrimp? Let's try an egg. Maybe we'll see a turtle at the beach. Awesome.
3 award-winning apps are included with Tiggly Words. Build silly stories and tiggly tales.
Aww, they're in love.
Explore the expansive depth of language in a Tiggly submarine.
Thank you. He washed.
And learn about verbs in Tiggly Doctor.
There's the patient. There's a hose in his nose.
It's no secret that kids learn best when they can engage all their senses.
Is that a magnet? What am I supposed to do with a magnet?
Which is why Tiggly Words brings tactile,
You hand me my English.
audio, and visual interactions all together.
Regulation.
Parents, teachers, and most importantly, kids give Tiggly Words their stamp of approval.
Tiggly.
Recommended for stretchy kids ages 4 to 8.
Tiggly Words, that was a big hit with my students.
Yeah, there's actually another app that wasn't in the ad. It's called Alphabet Kitchen. It came from Sesame Street that interacts with the Tiggly Words, and that became the most popular.
Very popular. So what we were looking for in my class, obviously all of my students were able to use Tiggly and OSMO, but primarily we were looking at my students in the language arts portion. So we didn't focus so much with the math, which is something we could certainly do next year. But we were looking at my students that were below with their PAL scores, and we were also kind of looking at the correlation, how many of my students are in the ELL population as well. So that's where we wanted to begin. I know a lot of my English language students had a very difficult time with vowels, with the short vowel sounds. So Tiggly was a great place to start. And again, like the video said, we were very tactile, moving around, encouraging each other, increasing their oral language, which one of my students basically would not speak. He could speak, but he didn't speak. By the end, you'll see he's actually on one of the videos, and he's able to verbalize based on using the Tiggly words. I often say with my class, too, that Tiggly helped with my wigglies, because I had a very wiggly class, and it was amazing how they were transformed, and you'll be able to see that.
So I would push it to Alice's room during her IE time in the mornings. And so that was actually one of our challenges that we'll share a little later. But basically about 25 to 35 minutes I would be in there working and pulling students over to have either the OSMOs out or an OSMO and Tiggly, just depended on the day and who I was working with. So this is the video. So this is I think she's first grade too, right?
She was first grade.
Yeah. So this is Osmo's.
I didn't see myself as a first grade teacher when I was studying. The reason I love first grade and why I'm happy to be in it is because huge year of change for the kids. They really grow up a lot. They read, they write. They see themselves as real students at that age, and I just love that. Education is changing so much, and I was trained 10 years ago. It's so important to give the kids the skills of collaboration and teamwork, and I think this tool really allows them to do that.
Students don't really get excited about finishing a worksheet. Students get excited about creating a video, making a comic, writing a story. When I am able to give them those opportunities and see how much they grow from that, it's very exciting. My first impression of OSMO was it's an amazing educational tool. I hadn't seen anything before that allowed students to interact with an iPad without touching the screen. And the fact that it has physical manipulatives really reaches out to a whole separate set of students. They love the positive feedback they get from the game when they successfully accomplish a puzzle or problem. They like the fact that they see points or that there's different scores.
Kids got very fond of it, so every week they ask for. It's a good compliment.
It's our role to really facilitate their learning, but also I found the more that they can be a part of that and really frame what they're learning and what they explore and what they research, the more involved they are. Helping them create and explore and research is my job.
I'm passionate of seeing the kids growing with their learning and being able to create something for their life. It's a pleasure to teach.
So I think something that came from this video for me were a couple of words: facilitator, which we know we want to I guess, equip our students with this ability to kind of guide their own learning. So it's nice with this to be able to step back. And then the other one was it's a teaching tool. Our iPads did not become toys. They were tools. And our students saw them in that way. Were they excited? Yes. Were they giggly? Yes. Were they running to it and saying, is it my turn? Is it my turn? But I never really heard them say, I want to play. I want to play. They just wanted to get to that OSMO and get to the tickly words because they knew they would be learning in a very fun way.
So the different apps between Tickly Words and OSMO, they tie in very nicely with the cornerstones. The Newton is all about critical thinking and problem solving. We have lots of great, you saw the kids drawing to get like the little balls into the hole. There's different versions of that, different puzzles like that. Problem solving with almost all of the apps in some way. Creativity, especially with Masterpiece. There's also a story maker with Tickly Words that allows students to kind of create their own story. Communication and collaboration, there's like team and versus modes with OSMO. And then that persistence, the students on OSMO, it'll tell them if they have an error and they have to correct it. And so they learn a little bit about self-correcting and kind of having to persevere through trying to get their points in the answer. Introducing the new technology, Alice's class went crazy.
Oh my goodness, they did them so excited.
Yes.
Energy, they got good energy.
So, this was introducing the Sesame Street app that is the Alphabet Kitchen, and we're projecting it up on the smart board, and you can see lag is the word that's up there now. But with the Alphabet Kitchen, it basically gives the students the beginning and ending sound, and they have to figure out which vowels will make their words. And then they get to mix up a cookie and decorate the cookie. But
and it was great too because while we were demoing, so you can use this as a whole group experience as well, because we stopped and oh, what does it mean to lag? So we got up and we, you could act out the words, a good discussion about it.
Some of the cookies that are created will be like a crab was the word. The shape of the cookie might be a crab, or it might be the word itself written out. We talk about know, what does that word mean?
Okay, so this is one of my students. You know, you get away from a couple days and you miss them like crazy. But so the first little picture, it was just like it just captured him all together. So whenever he decides to, you know, he's thinking, he came to me with he didn't have a large, you know, suitcase filled with skills. And by the end of this, he was just rolling with it. He had a very difficult time with his vowel sounds. He had a difficult time even telling me the letters and the sound that it made in particular. But he grew. He was like my little shining star, my story this year, because he grew leaps and bounds. And you can see the smile.
Yeah. So these are just more students working with the Taylor words. So they're able to take them and stamp them. The one student from far left, he's doing the story maker, and part of the story maker, depending on what words you make, you can change out the letters, so it gives you a different beginning sound. And their favorite is big because you can keep pressing the I down, and all the things on the screen keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So they figure out these things very quickly. This is OSMO, and so the two top pictures are of a versus mode, and then one at the bottom is a student doing it by himself. So there were two different ways that we set up OSMOs with the words. Sometimes, like on the bottom picture, it's showing a picture of shoes and it's missing the beginning sound, so he's having to look for the S to put down, and showing him the HOES is already there. And then sometimes we uploaded like the Dolch list, word list, and so it might have like the word like will, and the word is already there, and they're having just to respell the word on the screen. So there are different ways that we.
And the nice thing too with the titles, as you grow with it, you can get a word. Let's say the word was fruit, and they figured out based on the picture this is fruit. They don't have to necessarily spell the word in order. So if they, I recognize there's a T at the end of this word, I'm throwing in a T right now. Somebody else might say, well, I know, I'm throwing in an F and an R. So my kids were a little bit slower, but I'm sure if we'd had more time, they would have just been speeding right through it. So that, you know, at first I was like, ooh, out of order, I don't know about this. But then the more we used it, I thought, you know, this is good.
And then as it got closer to the spring, with like what we call the junior word list that had words like dog and cat and shoes, we did it so that they didn't get any of the letters, and so they would have, instead of just putting the D down for dog, they would have to do D-O-G, and they were competing against each other to spell it out, so it kind of helped the competition a little bit. So this is one of Alice's students talking about OSMO. Emily, how does OSMO work?
You take some plastic letters and you put them in front of the iPad, and you can play against yourself or against another person, and that gives you points and you make a word with it.
So you make words with the letters?
Yes.
They were all about getting the points.
All of them were points. And they were unprompted, so it you know, they knew what they were talking about.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite ones.
Mine.
These are two very active students.
Right.
Like
And-
very active.
Yeah. They kind of both want their way all the time, but if you can listen, just kind of hone into
Yeah,
who they are.
Yeah, you saw on like the advertisements, like the little like excitement when they would get something right. These kids have the same like reactions. It's pretty great. What's your next word, Eva?
Well, you have to say it in Israel?
building a community. We're building a community of learners where, you know, when they got together, it was like, hey, I'm going to encourage you. Like, yes, we got it. Before you might not have seen
Alright, this is one of Alice's ELL students, and I don't know how volume's going to come through, but his word is split that he's about to spell out, and he's sounding out each of the letters.
And this is my friend that wouldn't speak or talk.
Oh no. Oh, sorry.
Sound it out. What? Try it out. Good job.
That's what they did next to cookie. So they get decorated. Yeah.
So he had a lot of growth, and we'll show you what his graph looked like.
Okay, so we started off, we did target some of my students, and we were looking at, I am a data person, I like numbers, I like to see what's happening, you know, their trends or what's going on. So we took the 5 students, and we looked at their PALS list, their, at the beginning of the year, their word rec, and you can see that all of the students in the fall, they stopped at pre-primer. Well, if with PALS, I know our elementary, you're probably thinking, you know, all about this, but for the upper elementary or middle school, high school, what it is that we have our list of words. We have pre-primer, primer, first grade, second grade, and so forth. So of course, I really wanted my students to come in, you know, primer would be great. But as you see, they all started at pre-primer. In the parentheses, that was the target that was set by the state of Virginia for this, and you know, some were above it, but most of them were below it. We did have one that was right on it, but they didn't actually get to progress to the next level. So by the spring, you'll see that if you go across the top, that my one student not only fulfilled pre-primer, primer, and made it to the first grade list. At the target, it didn't make the target, but 9 out of 15, we were really thrilled with this. We have the second student, again, pre-primer is 6, target was 10, made it through the first grade 12 out of 15. Well, not out of 15, 20 is the max, but very, very close to target. Third one did well. I mean, she came in fairly, you know, strong, but again, wasn't at the primer level yet. Target was 15, she made 14. ELL student number 4 was on target, didn't go past pre-primer, but did get up to the first grade list. And then our student, there's my little student, yeah, there's my little student. And I cannot believe how much, you know, his confidence, and I think a lot of that when you're using these different tools, it builds confidence. Confidence that, you know, I hope I can do, but, you know, sometimes it takes a little more. But you see, he was at, didn't meet the benchmark for the pre-primer level, had 7, benchmark was 10, made it past that first grade list and started sailing into second grade. So that was like, you know, we had our woohoo moment.
So one of the things that we kind of collected data on was how students did with the OSMO. So we kind of took an average for each month that they worked on it. It might be like a 10 or 15-minute session, how many points they got in that amount of time and how many errors they had. And so you can tell, like, when we first started, it was a little rocky. Like, we were not getting very many points, and it could be a very long amount of time that they were working. Student 2, ELL student, started out with more errors than he had to correct. One of those fascinating graphs is student number 4, their errors. confusing beginning sounds. So like for shoes, instead of putting down the S, you would put down the C. So lots of common errors, like for just general spelling things. And then by, I guess about halfway through, like we finally crossed the other way and had.
When they were starting to understand, because I could hear Robin, I was working with another group at the time, but you could hear her asking, you know, if they were making that mistake, what else could you use? So they started from like I don't know, you know, just throwing down
Just putting letters, they kept putting down letters.
to starting to think, oh, wait a minute, that could be a C or it could be a K. So, you know, it was inch by inch.
So, and that ELL student number 5, that's our one that just blossomed. So, and you can tell on his graph how really he started getting those points a lot quicker, a lot faster.
Fewer errors.
And a lot fewer errors. He was probably one of the most careful in selecting before he would put down a word. So you can't really see the numbers on the left side of the screen, but his total number of points aren't as high as everyone else's, but his errors, he was very consistent and always wanted to make sure he had the right answer down. Positive outcomes.
Well, kind of like we've been saying all along, we did have an increase overall, every student with their Pell scores. Our ELL students seem to make tremendous progress, tremendous. And of course, that's pretty much where we were headed, our target, our thought with that as we started this project. Although Tiggly words did have decodable words, there was an increase in their automaticity, which that's what we want. We want our readers to be able to go through, read their sight words. That transfers into their writing, it transfers everywhere, and it, of course, will increase their fluency as well.
And that was noticeable in reading groups too, like them getting words.
Definitely.
So, challenges.
There were some challenges.
Time, never enough of that. One of the biggest challenges is that, so for first grade, they had 2 IE blocks. One was like focused for language arts and one was for math. And I was coming during the language arts one, and halfway through the year, flip-flopped. So I was coming in during math time doing language arts with some kids, and so we lost some of the kids that really needed the math intervention at that time, and I couldn't be pulling them for language arts. So we had to kind of adjust a little bit with how we were working with students, because all of Alice's students were in an intensive language arts intervention in the afternoon. So it made things a little bit difficult, and then also students were being pulled for services during that morning time, so I would have to work with ELL students right away before they would get pulled over into a group. One of the hardest things is the independence level of first graders, especially Alice's group. It was really hard. Like, I could give Tiggly words and let them go, but for the OSMO, it was a little bit more difficult, and especially because we were tracking the data, it was too difficult for them to self-track what we wanted, the information we wanted. So you had to have someone there to be able to track that. So that's something with older kids, you can just let them go and they know what you're looking for. But first graders, that was a little difficult. And then they all wanted to use it all the time. So trying to balance all of that out.
Right. Well, we were thinking about changes and improvements and whatnot for next year. I'm actually going to be teaching 5th grade.
And I'm also going to be a 5th
grade.
grade.
We're going to be teaching 5th grade together. And so we started to think, well, you know, is this geared just to the primary grades? No, not really. If you go through, you look in the galleries, it's suggested to go up, I think, to age 12. But we started thinking about how can we use it in the content area next year as well. And just for instance, like with the OSMO, with the words, they can pull in those words, and it doesn't have to stop there. We could stop at that point and say, okay, I need you to record that word in your science notebook. Let's get a quick picture there. Turn and talk, discuss that with somebody. So you're still building, oral language skills and things like that. They don't stop in the primary grades. We need to continue with that. So we thought we could certainly build that across the cross-curricular. A nice thing about the OSMO too, you can create your own lessons. So if you have something that's very specific to your content, you can pull that in there. It's very, very easy to do. Then there's also a really huge bank. Like the one day I was like, ooh, let's get them up to the next level in Dolch. And I thought, oh gosh, I don't have time to put this in. So we pulled it up and it was already
Already
there.
there, someone had already done that.
A teacher had already done that. So you can create your own that's specific to your class, but you can also look things up. They actually have books in there as well.
Cloudy with Chance of
yeah,
Meatballs.
Cloudy with Chance of Meatballs is in there. So if you're teaching a particular skill, there are keywords, key concepts. You know, the
And
lessons
there's
are
lessons
already
already
done.
created, and we're going to show you that at the very
Right.
end, just with kind of like lesson line.
Right. Now, yeah, and then the last one we got to the table where it's probably not applicable to 5th grade. So then, we want to pass that along.
So that's going to be left to the lower
Yes.
grades. And
Right.
one of the nice things that we discovered a little bit after having Tickly Words for a while is that you don't have to have the words to be able to play. So we had enough money and everything that we could put Tickly Words on all the school iPads. And so now, yep, Heather's already tested it out.
Yeah.
So they're going to be able to, you can it gives you the letters off to the side and you just pull them down instead of having to stand. So as I said, the takeaways, it can be used across grade levels and disciplines. What really drew us to it was that you could customize and differentiate your lessons. So we were able to have specific word lists for specific students if we needed to. When Alice was teaching,
OW.
yeah. OW was tough for her class, so there was a specific list for OU and OW that we were able to pull up and use for a few weeks. So there's lots of upper grade lessons that are available. So with us going to 5th grade, we're talking about science, and we were looking through online, and there happened to be a geology, rocks and minerals one, and we're like, oh, we can use that.
Suffixes, prefixes, yeah.
So the lesson library online, it splits things by subjects and by grade levels. It makes it really nice. So this is actually Heather Diedel's class, 1st grade class. They are playing Tickly Words without the letters. They don't have the stamps. And I just happened to stop by her room, and they were all playing it, and they were all super into it. Yeah, you could hear a pin drop in there. It's so quiet.
Okay, so this actually, okay, so again, if you know my son, he actually requested, he said, well, how about I just get on to Mom and I'll help you out. I'm like, well, it's okay, honey. We'll video. So my son and Heather Gill's daughter they actually wanted to come, but they wanted to create a video, just kind of highlighting a little bit of it for you.
Yeah, so we primarily used it with 1st grade students, the older students in our school were also
And
using
they actually did use this quite a bit after school, and it was kind of like the commercials to see, if I would go pick up Noah, I think Mr. Polish, if your sons were in there, you had your children there, Noah was there, and you could just pop into the room, and I'm like, where are they? And you would just see all
They're
these
all around the
kids
table.
looking over the table.
Kids Tech Talk. Today we are going to talk about tech, obviously. Sure, we talk about tech. But today we are talking about Mrs. Bauserman and Mrs. Orndorff, who just previously got a grant for an iPad and an iPlay, 2 of each of these. And now the classroom has gone so much better. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about Osmo. Can I see Osmo? Sure, I have 2 for us to try, and they are right here. I'm going to go ahead and start drawing the character from the new Osmo coding. He looks really cool. Notice how the camera and the reflecting work together to see each and every thing.
We didn't tell them anything.
They wrote a script and said, we're filming this.
You have done better sketches before, and you can make some really cool looking things. I think Learn is cool because everyone can use it. And you can make it so there are multiple people using it. You can take turns if you want. And you can also do something where you can change it from harder words to easier words. So you're going to have to challenge yourself. Yes, if you want to, you can challenge yourself. If you want to go a little bit easier because maybe you just don't know too much about spelling, you can do that. And the nice thing is if you're challenging yourself after you fail, because it's the correct way to spell it. And then after your failure, you learn something. I hope my new teacher loves my class next year. And that's all we have today for Kids Tech Talk. So long.
He got that move from Mr. Pavlish. You don't
They brought up a lot of good points, which is why we included their video talking about the failures and correcting them, and also the whole being able to challenge yourself and make the levels get harder as you move through some of the different games that are on there. Like with the numbers, you start with different counting games, and then it moves into addition and then subtraction, so it has like a natural progression. I just want to pull up real fast the website. Noah mentioned it, but there's now coding, which has these little, you can hit buttons, and so our technology teacher at school bought one so that we could play with it a little bit. So it's definitely very cool. So it's also almost as much as the whole bundle though. So. But on here, on their website, you can, there's a link just for schools. And as you scroll down, so you can see that it breaks things down by grade level on the left side, and then your different subject areas, so you can see different ways that you can apply cursive, spelling, different STEM, geography. When you click on them, there are different lessons in there, so like I know my states and capitals. So it might show like a picture of Mississippi, and you might have to identify the capital, or you might have to spell out Mississippi. For some of them, it's abbreviations. I'm going to show you now my account. One of the cool things is that the OSMOs are linked to your name, and so you can see, of course, Noah has been using it the most lately, but on the one side you can see what your students are doing individually when they've made certain achievements on OSMO. If a student's getting an excessive number of errors, that will pop up, so you know, like, oh, something's not right there. When they collect a certain amount of points, there's different levels of achievement that it'll report to you, and then students can send you their masterpiece. So there's another one of Noah's. So I can play it, and you can see him draw like the girl sent to her grandma in the ad. But and like this is where you can go and you can create your lessons from scratch. You can upload photos. You can say what word you want if it's like an OSMO words. So it's definitely, there's lots of different ways to be able to, make it unique for your class.
And that's probably, especially if I was in first grade, again, I would have done that probably at the beginning of the year. Go ahead and make a differentiated word list for each student. Because that's kind of where my idea thought when we were here last year. I was like, you want to target, you don't want to give everybody everything all the time. They don't need it. Some do, some don't. So that's the nice thing about it, is that you really can differentiate fairly quickly.
Questions for us? Yes.
In terms of creating your own lessons, how do you support that they have there?
No, so like I can put any picture uploaded from anywhere on the internet, and then type like what I want it to have missing, what I want it to be, what I want.
I'm thinking like microterminology,
Yeah.
root words,
Yeah, they have
anatomy.
Like I was thinking for when we were talking about 5th grade and all, like I automatically go to science. I'm a science person, so I was thinking like, like our common elements and like common compounds that we have, and have CO2 there, have carbon dioxide. So things like that, I was thinking about myself.
There was a lesson in there too, something about that you could do on the first day of school, where they could all introduce
go.
themselves and
Yeah.
have certain words that would describe them, and then they can come back and they can try to throw those tiles in, and that's who it describes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have like a big range. Yes.
Does it only link to iPad or does it do anything?
So Osmo is iPad. Tickly words won't hold out. Any other questions? So we have over here set up, the one here on the end is set up for Osmo words like a versus play. And then there's one down here on the end for the tangrams. And then we have 2 iPads if you want to try out stamping for the tickly words. And then there's some extra iPads where you can use like the touch mode. And tickly words is one of the folders and you can play with one of the different apps. So feel free to explore, check it out. That's all we have.